So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you why right now you want to buy the 2024 LandRover Defender 130 Outbound package. This is a vehicle we've been testing for a little bit of time now, and there's a whole lot to like about it. There are very few things that I do not like about it. This thing is the whole package. So a little bit of history for you. When Land Rover brought the Defender back, this model, the new trim, the new look, they did it in the Sahara Desert, and they wanted to give journalists a chance to drive this out on the big sand dunes to show the four-wheel drive capability. Fast forward now to 2024 with this new version right here. There are a couple things that I want to make note of. First off, you're looking at a longer vehicle. And the new Defender, when they came out with their new 3-row, right, was the first time they ever showed a 3-row Defender. This one is the Outbound package, so you don't get that 3rd row seating capacity. This thing's all about getting off-road. You got a massive, massive cargo capacity area. So if you want to get into overlanding, you're going to be able to do it with this vehicle right here. A couple things specific to the Outbound package before we dig in deeper. Let's start with the wheel and tire package. You're going to get a more aggressive wheel and tire package meant to go off-road, meant to get in that mud, and meant to really grip. The second is this ladder over my shoulder right here. And we'll bring you in closer in a minute to give you more of a breakdown, but this is an actual ladder that slides down. For overlanders, there's one thing we all love, me being one of them, and I have a tent, is you put your tent and mount it up on top. That's a pretty cool feature. They give you the ladder as an accessory so that you have access to the top. Or if you just want more cargo capacity, you can do that as well. On the other side, speaking of cargo capacity, is a box, and that box kind of gives it a look. So that's what I would actually jump off. My jumping off point would be, although you have the ladder and the box on the other side, and they have functional purposes, they're both really to give the vehicle that real off-road aggressive look. All right, so before we even get into all the luxurious features that this vehicle has, there are a couple of things that I want to point out first and foremost right off the top. These are the things that you care the most about with a vehicle when we're talking about overlanding. So let's start with what's under the hood. You have a 3-liter V6 pushing out 395 horsepower. It's mated with an 8-speed transmission. That's important, but what's more important is that it comes with an actual transfer case and has front and rear locking differentials. So that means when you're trying to get up some kind of rock formation, you can lock in the rear, you can lock in the front, and you will be able to more easily get up that rugged terrain. It also comes with all-wheel drive as standard, so you're going to have that feature as well. So you go with all-wheel drive, then you add in that transfer case, and now you're talking about a vehicle that has more capability off-road. The second thing is going to be your wheel and tire package on the Outbound Edition. You're going with a Goodyear tire, and this is an all-terrain tire. It's not a mud tire, it's an all-terrain tire, but you can see we've been able to pick up quite a bit of mud with this, and that tells me it's working. It means it's digging into the mud, it's getting caked up on the tire, and it's going to help me pull myself through. You got a nice big aggressive wheel on this, but as we make our way down, I want to talk about ground clearance. This is important as well. So with all off-roading vehicles, you want to have a little bit more ground clearance than you would with a normal SUV. So 2 things to know about the Defender. One is it has electronically controlled ride height or suspension. So it actually lifts itself up and lifts itself down. Your ride height is about 11.5 inches from the ground to the base of the vehicle. But that's going to adjust as you have that electronically controlled suspension. As you make your way down the vehicle, there are a couple other things that I want to have you pay a little bit of attention to. You have to remember that this is a longer vehicle than, say, a Bronco or a Jeep. So you're going to have to be a little bit more thoughtful, if you will, when you're getting off-road. If you put this thing in an articulated angle like this, you will risk dragging your bumper or your tow hitch a little bit. So there's a couple things to think about. So with the Outbound package, I want to point this out, that comes as an option is this ladder. I wanted to fully bring it out and show you kind of the whole process. It actually has a clip in here. You just drop it down, and it's great because it allows you easy access to the top. I've been able to stand up on top of this. It's easy from the standpoint of whether you want to put a cargo rack up on top or whether you want to put a tent on top. For me, I'd want a tent up top, and then what's great is you have this additional ladder. Now, we know that a ladder is going to come with the tent, so you might end up not needing this, but most importantly, what does it do? It just makes you look cool going down the road. Before we go into the rear hatch of the vehicle and look at all the cargo capacity and some fun little Easter eggs, I do want to talk about the rear design, and this is something that I just happen to personally love. We always talk about nostalgic vehicles, throwback vehicles that have a certain look, and this Defender has that with this whole entire rear C-pillar, D-pillar area with the lights that come up here. Just has such a sophisticated contemporary look, and I love that. This massive door swings open, and it's heavy. Heavy means like quality, right? You've got storage bins on the inside here. My first Easter egg is actually some reflectors. So the Jaguar Land Rover gives you reflectors. and they just tuck right back into the side panel of the vehicle right here. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the cargo capacity again, sticking with that rugged feel with a mat on the inside, no third row, power outlets on the side. We shoved about 8 suitcases in the back of this, and one of the reasons you can accomplish that is that you have a high roof line. That high roof line is great. Both sides have storage bins as well, and then this, and I'm not gonna open it all the way up, but this is just simply a cover that will span the entire side of the vehicle, keeping all of your items hidden from anybody that wants to take a peek in your window. You've got 2 circular spots right here. These are just anchor points. So whether you're going to help somebody get out of a situation or you need to be pulled out, you've got these that are actually attached to the frame of the vehicle. Now, contrary to popular belief on the interior of the Defender 130, your brain would automatically think Land Rover, Range Rover, there's going to be a ton of luxury on the inside. There's plenty of luxury on the inside. This is a sophisticated vehicle. But I do want to point out the fact that on the inside, it's got more of a rugged feel. You're going to see a little bit more plastic. You're going to see a little bit more feeling, if you will, that this thing is really meant to be more off-road than it is pulling into that valet spot. You could do it with it, but it has more of a rugged texture feel on the inside and a lot more plastic so that when you're getting wet, you're getting muddy, it's much easier to clean out. And always doing our second row seating test, this is pulled all the way back because I've been driving it. And you can tell that my knees are buttressed right up against this front seat. So for longer trips, you got to think about moving my son over here behind my wife because you're going to need a little bit more room back here. Again, interior is refined but simple. Also, I want to point out the headroom. This is massive. There is so much headroom on the inside of this vehicle. I don't know if I actually, now that I think about it, I can't think of another vehicle that has more headroom than this on the inside with a massive moonroof. All right, so first, when you're behind the wheel and you're doing some mild off-roading on rugged terrain like we are, you know, it's not too crazy, but it's wet, it's muddy. You can hear the sensors go off, which is great. They're warning me that I've got something either ahead of me or behind me. But the first thing that I noticed is that the suspension adjusted. So when we started on the road, the vehicle is lower on the ground, but as we've gotten off-road, the suspension will automatically raise itself to create that full 11.4 inches of ground clearance, and that is really important. From a suspension standpoint, it's pretty soft off-road, and that's something that you want. You want to be able to absorb the rocks, absorb the rugged terrain, and that's going to help you when you're out there off-roading because it's going to force those tires down into the dirt to really grab. So even though the Defender 130 is really all about off-roading, and that's kind of the big message, but there's also a lot of technology on the inside. So you get adaptive cruise control, which we have tested out on the highway. It'll keep us anywhere from 1 to 3 car distances away. It has front crash avoidance, rear pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, all key features that you want. And then down here on the screen right now, I purposely got it in reverse so that you can see the camera functions. You can hit buttons that'll show you a 3-dimensional look with the cars around me. You've got different sensors in here. You can have the sound off, that's the notifications. So a lot of different features in here that really set this vehicle apart. All right, so here's the deal. We're gonna close it out with this and why I think this is a vehicle you should buy. Most people that test drive these vehicles, they're not gonna take them out in the mud and the dirt and the rocks and really put them through their paces, and we did that with this. The locking differential, front and rear, absolutely work with this vehicle. Just make sure you're not in soft dirt like we were a little bit and you start spinning your tires. But it's capable, and it'll do everything that Land Rover says that it's going to do. I think the exterior design is really something that sets this apart. When it's coming down the road, whether it's this off-roading Outbound look or it is a Range Rover, this thing's sexy. It just looks awesome going down the road. You got a massive distance between your B-pillar and your C-pillar. My kids even noticed that your window's here, but you have a whole separate additional window pane over here that just gives you all of this real estate. There's so much to love about this vehicle. The technology on the inside is great, right? It's got the most advanced technology. You got adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, front crash avoidance, rear pedestrian detection, a 3-liter with 395 horsepower under the hood with locking differentials, right? I can go on and on and on. And you've heard me talk about all that already. The price is right around $69,000 for the starting base entry level Land Rover Defender. You want to get into the 130 and you want to start looking at the Outbound edition like this, you're going to be looking at about $82,000. You can scale it up or you can scale it down, and that's the beauty of this vehicle. I hope you enjoyed this video on the 2024 Land Rover Defender 130. If you're not following me on my other social channels, please make sure you do. It's Mike Caudill on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. It's where I'm hanging out these days, baby. Trying to share with all of you the reasons why you should buy a certain vehicle like this one.